Welcome back, all my fight fans. Today I'm going to be providing you guys with my wish list for 2026. These are 11 fights that I want to see happen in 2026. Now, why 11? Well, because there's 11 weight classes. I'm discarding featherweight, women's featherweight, because it's basically a dead weight class. So with the women's weight classes, there are 11 divisions. I'm going to go through all 11 of them and give one fight per division that I want to see in 2026. This list is completely subjective, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of matchups that I don't talk about today that you guys probably want to see. So let me know down below in the comments, what fights do you want to see in 2026? I love hearing from you guys, so don't forget to comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. And with that all out of the way, let's get into it. So let's kick it off with the three women's divisions first. I'll start with strawweight. For me, the fight that I want to see most at strawweight is kind of a weird one. I really want to see Tatiana Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern. You know, I think a lot of people want to see Wei Li versus Dern. Maybe that's the fight they want to most see at that weight class. But for me, there's something about Suarez versus Dern that's a more interesting matchup. First of all, you have Mackenzie Dern, one of the greatest female jiu-jitsu players of all time. And then you have Suarez, who's one of the greatest wrestlers in women's history. Maybe a little bit further down the list than Dern is on hers, but still, she's a fantastic wrestler, very high-end wrestler. I feel like both women have good hands, but not great hands, whereas Wei Li has great hands. She has great striking all around. She also has fantastic grappling, but it's more of an overall, a rounded game when it comes to the grappling. She's got great judo, great jiu-jitsu, great wrestling, but she's not quite on the level of Dern and Suarez, I would say, for pure talent in those grappling disciplines. So for me, I would just love to see an elite women's Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter go up against an elite women's wrestler, just to see how does that ground game play out. I would really like to see it. I would probably take Dern to win that fight, just because if it does go on the feet at any point in time, I feel like Dern has the better striking. But on the ground, I honestly don't know how it would go. I know Dern is one of the greatest female jiu-jitsu players ever, but Suarez, she can handle her own on the ground too. You know, she's very, very elite. Even though she got manhandled a little bit by Wei Li Zhang, I think versus Dern it would be a different story. So that's my pick for the for a wish list fight that I want to see at 115 for women's. So that's my pick for a fight that I want to see at women's strawweight. Let's move on now to women's flyweight, where the fight that I want to see the most in 2026 is Valentina Shevchenko versus Natalia Silva. Now, Natalia Silva is pretty young. I think she's 28 years old, putting her basically 10 years younger than Valentina Shevchenko, and she is a striker that I think might be able to stand with Shevchenko and make it really interesting. We haven't seen that before in the UFC. Maybe you could say Nunes was the one striker who could really stand with Shevchenko and make it really interesting. Grasso at times as well, I guess. I can't count out Grasso, but Nunes was so much bigger than Shevchenko. With someone like Silva, Silva's the same size as Shevchenko. She might actually be a little bit shorter than Shevchenko. She might be a little bit smaller even. But I think she might have the speed advantage, which is very interesting. Silva's one of the fastest strikers I've ever seen in any women's division. She is very, very quick, very, very fluid with her strikes. She's pinpoint accurate, and she does not make a lot of mistakes. She's also got a pretty good ground game too to back it up. She's been on a win streak for quite a while now, and I feel like if there's one fighter who might be able to take away the belt from Valentina Shevchenko in 2026, now that we've seen Shevchenko beat back Fiorot and Wei Li Zhang, I think it might be Natalia Silva, at least at 125. At 135, there's another matchup that I would like to see, and that's I'm going to put two fights here because we'll see what happens. First of all, there's the Kayla versus Nunes fight. That fight's already booked, but it just got canceled recently. It's not happening at UFC 324. So hopefully it gets rebooked and we do get to see Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. That's my most wanted fight at 135. I wanted that fight for like 10 years now. I've been watching Kayla Harrison for so long, and I've wanted her to come to the UFC, wanted her to come over. She's finally here, a little bit at the tail end of her career, unfortunately, but she's still so dominant. She's such a beast. I feel like she could go out there and destroy Nunes. It could happen. Or Nunes could come back and head kick Kayla Harrison into oblivion and take her belt back and become the greatest of all time again. Right now, I feel like Nunes and Shevchenko are tied, so if Nunes comes back and beats Kayla Harrison, it puts her back on top. So, but the other fight, in case that fight doesn't happen, I would really like to see Valentina Shevchenko take on Kayla Harrison. I know she's a lot bigger. Kayla Harrison's a huge woman. I don't know how she makes 135, But I think it could be an interesting fight. Obviously, she can't grapple with her too much. That's a very dangerous girl to grapple with. But Shevchenko's the best judo player I've seen in the UFC, basically up until Kayla Harrison has come over. So I would even put her in some ways above Ronda Rousey. I know Ronda Rousey has more judo accolades than Shevchenko does, but Shevchenko's utilized her judo throughout her UFC career more efficiently than Ronda did. I don't know. It's a weird thing to compare, but I think Shevchenko's one of those fighters who you never know who she can beat. She got very, very close to beating Nunes twice. I feel like both fights were close. In fact, I feel like the one fight she definitely beat Nunes. So watching her fight Kayla Harrison would be incredibly, incredibly exciting. I don't know which way that fight would go, to be honest. On the feet, I feel like Shevchenko could piece her up, but if Kayla Harrison gets close enough, that might be the woman that outgrapples Shevchenko badly. So we'll see. We'll see what fight actually happens in 2026. It's looking like the Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes fight will be rebooked, so that one's likely to happen. So that makes me happy. The other two fights that I just mentioned, I don't know if they'll happen in 2026. Hopefully the Shevchenko-Silva one will happen. I think that's the next one that they'll book for Shevchenko. But moving on from the women's divisions, let's go to 125 at the men's. On the flyweight division for men's. The fight that I want to see the most at 135 is Van versus Taira, and is actually the fight that's probably most likely to be booked next. I feel like Pantoja is going to take a while to recover, so the fight that I want to see made immediately is the 24-year-old Joshua Van going up against the 25 or 26-year-old Tatsuro Taira. You got two very, very young fighters, hot prospects, both guys. Not many losses on their resume, and the fights that they did lose were close. Did lose, I guess, were close. And I feel like Taira has all of the tools to go in there and beat a guy like Joshua Van. Joshua Van, obviously, he's so exciting. Second youngest champion in UFC history. He's got the highest significant strike per minute average. He's just a constant piston, always throwing punches throughout the entire fight. Very, very entertaining guy, especially for flyweight. But then you have Taira, who's an absolute enigma. This guy is so crafty on the ground. He's incredibly creative. One of the most creative fighters I've ever seen in the UFC, period. That's saying a lot. Like, this guy is very, very creative. He does things in there, and you could just tell this guy's flowing. He's making things up on the spot. Taira is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now, definitely at 125, and I would love to see him step in there against Joshua Van, and honestly, whoever wins, I'd be happy with. Both of these guys are young. Both of these guys could go on incredible runs. Either one of them could probably become the next GOAT at this weight class if they go on a long title run and are able to surpass DJ. But I would love to see something like that. These are the two young prospects in this division that I think are the most exciting. So why not pair them up against each other next? Tatsuro Taira's right in line for a title shot, and Van got the belt over Pantoja with that kind of fluke incident there, that fluke injury. So that's the fight that I want to see made at 125 in 2026. Next up at 135 pounds in the men's division, I really, really want to see Petr Yan take on Umar Nurmagomedov. There are three fighters right now at 135 who I think are so damn elite. You can put any one of them really in the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters, and maybe they don't have a belt, maybe they don't have the accolades quite yet to be that high on the pound-for-pound list, but I think that they are so damn talented they could be up there, and that's Merab Dvalishvili. Obviously, he should be in the top 5 pound-for-pound. Umar Nurmagomedov, because I think his fight with Merab was incredibly close, and you take into account he broke his hand in the first round. I feel like if you run that back, he could beat Merab. And Petr Yan, who obviously just took the belt from Merab and did it in one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen in the UFC. I would even maybe go as far to say as it's the most impressive performance I've ever seen in the UFC. So you have three guys there, all from Russia or adjacent to Russia. Georgia's pretty close to Russia. You have all three guys there kind of from a similar region. And all of them have elite ground games. Elite. Even Petr Yan, fantastic judo. Some of the best judo in that weight class we've ever seen. Elite ground games on all of them. All of them have elite striking, especially Umar and Petr Yan. They're very creative strikers, those two. All three of them have elite fighting IQ. All three of them have phenomenal gas tanks. All three of them, for me, are the three best fighters to ever fight at 135. Maybe not the greatest, because, Umar and Petr Yan even doesn't have the same accolades as someone like Dominic Cruz has still. But I think that those are the three best fighters I've ever seen fight at that weight class. So for me, we've already seen Umar versus Merab. We've already seen Yan versus Merab. I really want to see Jan versus Umar. That's the fight that I want to see the most at 135 in 2026. I don't know if it'll happen with how the weight class is sorted out right now. There's a lot of fights that need to happen. I don't know if this fight will be made, but I really want it to be made because it's two guys from Russia facing off against each other. You got the Dagestan guy and the more northern Russian guy. Two styles that I think just play off of each other so well. You have the kicking game of Merab going up against the boxing game, or the kicking game of Umar, going up against the boxing game of Jan. When it comes to the ground game, it's going to be so close because, Jan was able to out-wrestle Merab in his last fight, and Umar is such a high-level wrestler too. He gave Merab a tough time as well. I don't know which way that fight goes. I would be happy with whoever wins it. I'm obviously a big fan of Umar. I love the Dagestani fighters, but Jan's one of my favorite fighters of all time. So I don't know. That one's just super, super exciting for me. I would really love to see it happen at 135. Like I said, I think those three guys are the most talented fighters I've ever seen at that weight class. So to see Jan and Umar match up against each other would be a dream for me. But let's move on now to 145, where I have the winner of Volkanovski and Lopez. Whoever wins that rematch, that fight's coming up in a couple weeks here. Whoever wins that rematch, I really want to see fight Evloev. If it's a rematch between Lopez and Evloev, that will be awesome because the first fight was I loved that first fight with Lopez and Evloev because I thought Evloev was going to go in there and just decimate this Lopez guy. Lopez comes in there, I think short notice, and makes it an incredibly close fight. And people look at Evloev and they go, man, this guy doesn't have any finishes. It's all decisions. Like, this guy's a boring fighter. But if you actually watch him fight, every single fight he's in is super entertaining. His last fight with Aljamain Sterling was one of the most impressive grappling performances on both sides I've ever seen. It was back and forth, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, crazy transitions. For some reason, that fight wasn't on the main card, so not the most people watched it, but my God, his last fight was so entertaining with Aljo. Like, this guy needs to fight for the belt. I know he's people don't like him because he's kind of taking his foot off the gas, waiting for a title shot, going like, look what I've done to all these people. I'm undefeated. Please let me have a title shot. And Dana's kind of going like, well, fight another fight. Be active. Fight 5 times a year, and then I'll give you a title shot. I think he should be next. He's the best guy in the division. He should be next against Volk or Lopez, and I hope it's Volk, honestly. I hope it's Volk versus Evloev. I think that's such a fun fight. It's such a great matchup. How does it go on the ground? Evloev is such a high-level wrestler. I feel like he could out-grapple Volk. But then again, who's really out-grappled Volk so far? On the feet, Volkanovski's got so much power. He's got a great chin. He's so smart, high fight IQ. But then Evloev has a very high IQ as well. And he's a very crafty striker, very disciplined striker as well. He doesn't take too many chances. So I don't know. I really, really want to see that one at 145. Moving on to 155 is a fight that I've wanted for years now because I remember when both of these fighters were undefeated at one point, and it's Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. I thought for a long time these were the two most impressive guys at their weight classes who haven't fought for a belt yet. And we saw it with Arman when he fought Islam Makhachev, how close that fight was. It was so freaking close. You could have probably called it for Arman, and I don't think too many people would have been upset about it. It was very, very close. Arman's had so many fantastic fights in the UFC. His wrestling is S tier, like superb wrestling. He's got amazing striking, very crafty and creative. You see the axe kick that he threw at Oliveira, basically doing the splits while standing. Crazy athletic ability. And then Ilia, just gifted beyond belief with insane power, like crazy, crazy power in his hands. He's super technical, very focused, very, very disciplined. Great grappling as well. Fantastic wrestling. I don't know if it's the same level as Arman, but we'll see when it plays out because you never know. That Georgian wrestling is no joke. We've seen it from Merab. We've seen it at times from Ilia Topuria, especially with some of the suplexes him and his brother like to throw. But I think against a guy like Arman, he's going to have a tough time wrestling that guy. That Arman Tsarukyan's a hell of a wrestler. He was winning exchanges against Islam Makhachev. Like, I don't know. I think for me at 155, Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan is the most electrifying fight you can make. I think out of all the fights I'm going to mention today, this is the fight I want to see the most. It's kind of tied with Jan versus Umar, but I really want to see Ilia versus Arman just for just for how well they're matched up. They both have no holes in their game. They're both elite on the ground and on the feet, and they both have great fight IQs. I feel like Arman gets overlooked because he had that neck injury, maybe doing some stupid stuff with Nina drama in her videos, and then he gets pulled out, or he has to pull out of the Umar fight earlier, or the Islam fight earlier in the year. He has to pull out of that fight, and then Moicano steps in, and that's kind of a dud fight because Moicano doesn't pose much of a threat to Islam Makhachev. And then, on the mic, he's a bit of a spoiled rich kid, and I can get why people don't really love Arman Tsarukyan, but I think he's a fun guy. I think he's a funny character. I think he's a tremendous athlete, one of the most impressive athletes in the entire sport. And Ilia Topuria, I think, is God's gift to MMA, man. This guy could become the next GOAT, and he could do it in a fashion that we've never seen before. He's just knocking out legends, doing it with ease. He's got so much confidence. I haven't seen confidence like this since Conor McGregor. So much swag, so much personality. I love Ilia, man. He's truly one of my favorite fighters active today, and to see him fight Arman Tsarukyan, that would be a dream. So I have that for 155. Next up at 170, I'm getting a little bit into make-believe territory here a little bit. So I'll give two fights. First one, Islam Makhachev versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Really want to see this fight because Shavkat is great on the ground. He's one of the best wrestlers in this division. I still think Islam would hold the edge if they did get in there and face each other. I think Islam would have the better grappling, probably the better wrestling, but I don't know. Shavkat is really sneaky good. I don't know how good he is on the ground yet. He hasn't faced anybody as good as Islam, so we'll see if he rises to the occasion. But when it comes to striking, I think it's a lot closer. In fact, I would maybe even give the edge to Shavkat. It's close because Islam keeps evolving every single fight. His boxing gets better. His kickboxing gets better. He throws better knees every single fight. Like, everything gets sharper and sharper every fight. But Shavkat's got some techniques that he throws that I don't see Islam throwing very often. Shavkat will throw spinning stuff. Shavkat will be more creative with his combination. Shavkat, I think, is the better striker, and I think this fight is very, very evenly matched. Maybe Islam has more skill. Maybe he's got more grit. Maybe he's a little bit stronger even, pound for pound. But Shavkat's bigger. He's 3 inches taller, I think. He's got some length on him. He's got that reach. It could be a very, very interesting fight. But the fight that I would like to see even more than that, which is reaching quite a bit here, is if I want to see this so bad, man, is if Chimaev could come back down in weight to 170 just to fight Islam Makhachev. I don't know what it is, but Khamzat Chimaev versus Islam Makhachev is a fight that I want to see so friggin' bad. I feel like I could call that fight either way. The wrestling to me is equal. I don't know who has the better wrestling. It might be Chimaev. I don't know. I have to see it play out. I don't know who has the better striking. They both have fantastic striking. They're both incredibly violent. They're both incredibly dominant. They're both like perfectly matched for each other. Just one of them's a lot bigger than the other one. Like, Chimaev is 2 or 3 inches taller than Islam, and he fills out his frame. He's not like Shavkat, who's a little bit skinnier for his frame and can fight at 170. Chimaev's so big that he had to move up from 170 and stop fighting there because he fills his frame out. And he's like 6'2 or 6'3. He's a big guy. So I don't know, man. I really, 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 really want to see that one. I know that that's probably my most out there pick today. It's probably the least likely one to happen, but there's just something about it that the Islam going up in weight class. We know Chimaev's already fought at 170 before. Those two guys, they're both from Russia. They both have very, very similar skill sets. They're both very violent people. I would just love to see that one so much. So for 170, if it's not Chimaev, which is very unlikely, I would love to see Shavkat Rakhmonov take on Islam Makhachev. And next up at 185, I would also like to see Chimaev stay at his weight class, defend his belt against Imanov. I think Imanov has a pretty good ground game. He might be able to keep Chimaev off of his legs. He might be able to stay on his feet. It's unlikely because Chimaev is so damn good. Look what he just did to Dricus. That was not even a close fight remotely. And Dricus is very, very tough. He has great takedown defense. So Imanov, I don't know if he'll be able to take Chimaev off of his legs, but what Imanov has is crazy accuracy. He's a sniper. He can hit you with 2 or 3 shots and then you're done. He's got great, great striking. And he is such a fun fighter. He's another fighter I would love to see as champion because He's just got all the tools that you want in a fighter. He's got all the tools you want in a champion, and he's entertaining. He's always looking to finish guys. I would love to see Imanov challenge Chimaev, but I do think Chimaev likely would just ragdoll him and absolutely bully him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think that fight is likely to happen in 2026. That one's not as far reaching as Chimaev versus Islam, but we'll see how that one plays out. Next up at 205 pounds, I really, really want to see Alex Pereira defend his belt against Mirzakhanov in 2026. Mirzakhanov is one of those fighters, I do not know how good this guy is. He could be the next Pereira. He could be the next world beater, absolute destroyer. If you don't know, he's undefeated. He's 16-0 with 12 knockouts, I believe, and this guy can knock you out with a jab. He's got so much power in his hands. He might be able to match Pereira power for power, and I would love to see that play out, even if the fight only lasts like 15 seconds. Just sling it out at each other. I feel like this guy could get it done. He's very accurate with his punches. He's got great defense too. He rolls his head well. He's got great footwork, great movement. This guy's a crafty, crafty striker. You might look at him and go, wow, this guy's built like Humpty Dumpty. Like how good could he actually be? But he's a very high level and crafty striker. Don't let his body fool you. This guy's very high level, and he might be able to match Pereira in the power department. So I would love to see this fight happen in 2026. It's a Russian guy who's undefeated. I'm cheering for that guy to avenge Ankalaev. So that's my guy now in 2026. We'll see if it happens. And finally, at heavyweight, I want to see a fight that has already technically happened. I just want to see it happen for real this time, and that's Gane versus Aspinall. It's the fight to make at heavyweight. They're the two best guys. They're fantastic strikers. Tom is very fast, very slick, very good boxing. Cyril Gane, even faster, even slicker, and even better all around striking, I think. He's got better kicks. He's a little bit more intelligent with how he strikes. You could see that from the first fight that they had. Gane was winning the fight. He was busting Tom up. He was popping his nose, making him bleed, making him miss. Gane has amazing, amazing striking. On the ground, he'd probably give the edge to Aspinall. He's got fantastic jiu-jitsu. I believe he is a black belt. Gane is also pretty good on the ground as well. He's good at keeping people off of his legs. He's got some wrestling. He might have even been able to use some wrestling and beat Ngannou. That fight was pretty close. So we'll see. I think this fight's just so much fun, especially because it's England versus France. This is one of the oldest rivalries between countries on earth. It's probably the most historical. I mean, those two countries have fought each other so many times. You got the 100 Years' War, right? 100 years of war between two countries. It was England and France. So there's a lot of rivalry there, a lot of history. I'm obviously of French heritage. I'm French Canadian. My ancestors came over here from France in the 15 and 1600s, so it's been quite a while since I've been of Canadian blood, but I still have that French pride in me a little bit, so I'd love to see Gane go out there and knock out this Brit, knock out this chap, and get it done, because I feel like he was getting close there in the first fight. I really thought we saw the tide shift going into that fight. Gane was a big underdog. A lot of people were counting him out. A lot of people were saying Tom Aspinall is going to go in there and just knock him out, spark him in the first round. And that's not what happened. We saw Gane adjust. We saw Gane read Aspinall, and we saw him make him miss. And then we saw him tag Aspinall and hit some big shots on him, make his nose bleed before that eye poke happened. I don't know if that eye poke was legitimate. I honestly don't know. With fighters these days, I see people take horrible eye pokes and then start fighting the next second. I see people take kind of mediocre eye pokes and then call the fight off. And I don't know if he was trying to get out of that fight, if that's why he said the eye poke was so horrible, or if it actually was that horrible. I don't know. It's very hard to tell with eye pokes. I know for myself, I would definitely not like to have Cyril Gane's fingers in my eyes. I probably would have called the fight then and there as well. But yeah, we'll see when this fight gets rebooked. It's definitely going to be rebooked. It's just a matter of when in 2026 it will be. I don't know if they're going to try to save Aspinall maybe for a Pereira fight for the White House card, or what they're going to do. But we need to see this fight ran back, because the first time it was looking like Gane was winning it. And I'm a big fan of Cyril Gane. So I would love to see him, like I said, knock out this British boy and get the victory for France. So We'll see what happens in 2026. Those are the fights that I want to see the most next year, or this year now, I guess technically. Those are the fights that I want to see the most this year. So I'm sure you guys have different opinions than me. I'm sure there's different matchups you guys would like to see. So let me know down below in the comments, what are your most coveted fights of 2026? What are the fights on your wish list? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the absolute world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.